Holla ballers, what's going on? It's Preacher, and as our tanking series has in fact drawn to a close, it's time to move on. Again, we're going to be doing those same things, and this time we're going to be doing with healers. We're going to start from 0 to hero. The purpose of this series is twofold. One, to maybe point out some tips as we get to the higher end for those healers who are looking that way, and also to encourage every one of you, especially if you've only ever been a DPSer, to try out the different perspectives of the game. You might find something you love, but more importantly, you'll start to get much more awareness and knowledge of the things that are going on around you that you just never notice as a DPSer, and allow you to make much better choices, which is super important because it'll just make you an overall better player. If you understand what the healers are going through and understand what the tanks are going through in a scenario that you've only ever seen through one set of eyes, then you start just to become so much better. So much better. And willing to know when to help, when to deal with things, what debuffs actually do, all sorts of crazy stuff. So in order to do this, we do need to choose a healer. How do we go about this? Well, I know this will trigger some people who just want to be angry at their class, but right now, right now in World of Warcraft, healers are more balanced than they've ever been in the history of the game, I think. I don't think I've ever seen it this close. There are obviously strengths and weaknesses in all the classes, which is the way the game is designed. It's supposed to work like that, so we're not all one homogenous blob, where there's some bosses that are slightly better, some bosses that are slightly worse, but overall, pretty goddamn close. Pretty goddamn close. Very impressive work there by Blizz. So, from that perspective, we're not going to be doing like we did with the tanks, which were marginalized, to say the least, with nobody wanting to take Blood DKs and Brewmasters into combat, into high-end combat, so people ignored them, so we did it with the Blood DK. We don't get to do that with the healer, so we get to choose something for fun, which is great. I had a couple of choices here. A big one when we put this question forward to the chat was the Disc Priest. The Disc Priest is something I fell in love with pretty much when I first tried out the new system of healing on the alpha and the beta. I rated the Disc Priest as one of the most fun healers I had played, probably because it leaned a little bit more towards DPS than straight up healing, which obviously favors my current goals in game. But the problem is there, as much as everybody was like, please do Disc, community has this bad perception of Disc, I think we will cover that separately. But the problem is, for an overall healing series, their healing style is so unique that it's difficult to translate that over into a very generalized look at healing, which is going to be looking like we did with tanking, of not specifically the class. I didn't do a Blood DK guide. What I actually did was overall tanking. And when you get something as unique as this, that doesn't really play very well with that environment. So I think we'll do this, but we'll do it separately, and we'll look at it as an individual case. That left us with a multitude of other choices. We could have gone Resto Druid, we could have gone Holy Priest, Holy Paladin. All of these are like pretty goddamn good. Holy Paladin's in the best place I've seen it gameplay wise for ever, I want to say. Ever, potentially ever. Has some running in Wrath, it was quite cool as well. We had the Resto Shaman and we had the Mistweaver Monk. Now, I have a Mistweaver Monk. I have a Mistweaver Monk already. He's 110 and he's got Artifact Knowledge 22, I think. The problem is, he's already kind of overgeared for our purposes here. I could go back, I suppose, and farm shit gear for every single slot. I don't particularly want to do that. That sounds kind of like a bad idea in my eyes and very boring and a wasted opportunity there. He's only 865, I think, 867, but that's already like higher than my Blood DK. That's already higher than that. So we're not really going to get that same feeling of starting from scratch and working our way up. So I kind of want something fresh that has shitty artifact knowledge, shitty gear, all the things are against him. Again, a big part of this series is cutting out the excuse monsters as much as possible. The guys who like find reasons not to do stuff because gear, class, all those kind of things. We're trying to cut those guys out and say, look, just not in a bad way, but like encourage them to say, give it a try. It's not as bad as you think. The other side of this is, I want something that I can show off all the other stuff besides raw healing that classes can do. So, with that being said, spoiler alert, we decided on the Resto Shaman. Now, one reason was I already had a Shaman at 105. He was supposed to be my Alchemist, but I lost interest in leveling a character all the way to 110 just to do Alchemy. I just kind of like was, Blood of Sergaras is in now to get the herbs. I can get people in the guild to make my pots and flasks, so yeah, whatever, I'm just going to leave him alone. And my other classes, one, I don't like leveling a shadow. I think most shadow priests have this same mentality, is leveling a shadow is really crap. Void Form does not play well in leveling whatsoever. You would level it, a lot of people like just level his dis, it's so much better. And I was like, I kind of agree on that perspective that probably is better to a point. Shadow's probably slightly more effective still, but it's still not nice. So I wasn't very encouraged with that. Similar with the Druid, as much as I enjoy Feral now, far more than I've enjoyed it for a very, very long time, and dislike balance really, not for any other reasons than I prefer the old one, and every time I play it I think, oh, I kind of wish the old Resto Druid, the old Balance Druid was here. I wasn't particularly excited to level that. Not particularly excited. Similar with Ret. Ret's in a really good place right now, but I didn't really want to level a Ret Paladin either just yet. I do want to, but there's personal reasons with a certain member of my guild as to why I don't want a capped Paladin right now. It's a little inside, so I'm not going to go into it. But on the other note, that kind of left us with the Shaman being the perfect opportunity to do that, because obviously a Holy Priest would still involve leveling his Dis or Shadow. The good thing about this, though, and this is why I was excited to do this, and I'm really excited to actually jump into this for a number of reasons. One, I haven't taken healing seriously since sort of early WoD. And healing's something I really enjoy for short periods of time, and then I kind of get a little bit bored with it. It doesn't really tickle my taste in terms of WoW. But when I do it and I get good at it again, I do get really good at it and I really enjoy it. And then I kind of like run its course in terms of enjoyment, and then I kind of leave it alone for a while. So I'm more than ready to jump back into taking healing seriously. All I do when I watch myself at the moment is spot mistakes, which I'm looking forward to eliminating and scrubbing off the table. On the other side of that is that on the Resto Shaman, we have access to so many tools that barely get utilized by most of the player base, which means I can open those doors and really show how useful something like a Resto Shaman can be. And I'm super excited to get this thing into Mythic Plus and start doing things there with it. Just the fact that we have things like Windrush Totems, we have Purges, we have Ranged Interrupts, we have DPS, we can do on-demand burst, we can reduce damage, which shows the predictive side of things. We can just do so much. We have AoE Stun we can utilize regularly. All these things and try and put them to best use are cool things that I want to show off for you guys. Really cool things that I think we can get some good love out of and really take some good information away from there. So, combined with the fact that we already had a Shaman half leveled, and, I mean, he's 108 right now, that's what you're seeing in the background, it's a 108 Shaman. And the fact that we have this vast toolkit that we can put to good use, and then we can combine knowledge that we picked up while we were tanking, picked up while we were DPS, then roll that into our healing as well. That creates so many cool opportunities. So that's where we're going. That's how I chose my healing class. For those of you like you did with your tanks, remember we're not doing a Resto Shaman. A Resto Shaman guide. We're doing a healing guide. So similar to how many of you picked up your DKs that are DPSs and went tank for a bit on warriors and stuff like that. If you want to grab that class and switch over to healing and kind of follow along and get the experience as I move through this over the next week, so over Christmas, then hopefully we're going to have a good time together. Alright? So this is something I'm a little bit excited for, because it's something I haven't touched on really for a long time. The Resto Shaman, my friends. That's how I got there. Let's do it.